up with the governing parties, and mind you, they're voting for people in parties in opposition. Labour did very well in both polls, and the question the main parties have to face is, why are we not doing so well? The governing parties fall by between 10 and 15%, their share of the vote goes down. So what is it they're doing wrong? Now, it may well be a traditional midterm opposition. If you were a betting person, would you say this is voter disenchantment midterm? Or it may be that the issues which people think matter, jobs and the economy, are not being addressed by the main parties.
Well, yes, I mean, it may be, because none of you has said this, let me put it may just be that they're fed up with everybody. They want a new party. UKIP is a relatively new party. It looks all right. It's got a plausible leader. Why not? Why is it impossible? Not that you've said it's impossible exactly that, but why should it be so difficult for a new party to rise up in this country?
What's really true, John, is that the old grip that the old parties had on the electorate as a whole, that you could predict, either by social class or by form of housing tenure or whatever, that certain types of people would vote Conservative, other types of people would vote Labour. That has gone and has been going for a long time. So there's a more kind of...
probably quite healthy as well.
I personally think it's healthy. I've always thought it's healthy. And I think a more consumerist approach to politics is there when people say, what can they offer? But then your question is an appropriate one. If that is true, why can't somebody really break through and make a major difference? And I think the reason for that is actually the so-called new parties, UKIP's a good case in point, haven't actually got anything very much interesting to say, except we're not one of the above. And if they were able to say something very interesting and exciting, then they might be able to do that. But they're a very long way away from
Sheila, do you agree with that?
I think part of the problem is that political parties, the main ones, have moved off the central agenda, the agenda central to people's lives. They appear to be, and that what matters is
sorry, just justify that. They've moved off the issues that are central to people's lives. Well,
yeah, they don't seem to be tackling the question of jobs, the economy in the Northwest. I know they're trying to, but there are all kinds of other issues which parties talk about, whether it's the matter of trying to extradite unwanted people who've broken the law, or getting people out of the country, whether it's social issues, whether it's even welfare reform doesn't really seem to clink as much as it might do, or education, which is central. At the moment, when the economy is down, people are very, very concerned about losing their job and keeping their job. And if you looked at some of the clips from Rotherham, lifelong Labour supporters, which is an interesting point, said they were switching. They had voted UKIP because they couldn't bring themselves to vote for Labour. I know there was a problem with the Dennis O'Shane retirement and so on, but still there is a disenchantment with the parties and all the talk about what I would say the shopping list of issues that the main parties are bringing to voters.
Ben, is that what the polling evidence suggests to you?
To a certain extent, I think that the tribal...
But not much, you see.
No, well, because if you look at what UKIP voters actually say is on their minds, they are obsessed about the economy, a bit more than the population as a whole, and the population as a whole is pretty worried about the economy. But they are also, they take a particular angle on it. They are very anxious about immigration, and actually more anxious about immigration than they are about Europe, the issue that they're often associated with. 49% of people who say are going to vote UKIP say that the biggest issue in the country is immigration. That the proportion who say Europe is only 20%. So it's this. I think that the UKIP is picking up on a feeling of anger against change, against uncertainty, and in some ways, some of the things about modern